Welcome to another relaxing video. This one is going to be a little different, maybe even a little weird, especially if you've been following my channel regularly. Instead of playing a game ASMR style, I'm going to take a topic from a game and turn it into a calm, light-hearted, and hopefully enriching little lecture. Today's topic is Greek mythology, inspired by the wonderful games Hades and Hades 2, which I absolutely love playing. By the way, you'll find links on the screen or down in the description to my ASMR gameplay of those two games, if you're interested. Before we begin though, if you enjoy my content, please consider liking, subscribing, sharing the video, or maybe even using the new hype feature. It really helps my channel climb a little closer to the Olympus of YouTube channels. Yeah, sure, Jen. Now, sit back, relax, and let's talk about Greek mythology. First of all, Greek mythology is a vast topic. There are countless stories, and many of them come from different sources, which often contradict each other. The main issue is that there isn't really a single definitive all-in-one book of Greek myths. The earliest versions actually date back around the 18th century BC, passed down orally by Minoan and Mycenaean storytellers. Then, centuries later, came Homer with his epic poems, the Iliad and the Odyssey, written around the 8th or 7th century BC, almost 1,000 years after those earliest tales. And of course, the myths continued to evolve through the works of the tragedians and comedians of the 5th century BC, who preserved and reimagined many of these stories. Despite all this variety of sources, we do have a fairly clear picture of what the ancient Greeks believed. Their myths painted a vivid picture of the world, its origins, its gods, and the unseen forces that shaped everything, from love and war to harvest and death. In a way, mythology was how they made sense of the chaos around them, how they coped with the strange and unpredictable nature of life. Not too different from us, really. Only instead of divine drama, we have doom-scrolling and the Actua girl and other pearls of wisdom like those. For our first journey into Greek mythology, let's start with something simple. Since the inspiration for this video comes from Hades and Hades 2, let's talk about the two main characters, Zagreus and Melinoe. In the games, they're the prince and princess of the underworld, children of Hades, king of the dead, and Persephone, the queen of the underworld and goddess of spring. But in actual Greek mythology, things get a little more complicated. Their mother is Persephone, that part is true, but according to most ancient sources, their father wasn't Hades at all. It was Zeus, who in typical Zeus fashion disguised himself and seduced Persephone, not once but twice. Once disguised as a serpent, and once disguised as Hades himself. Sneaky guy indeed. The story of Zagreus is rather sad and a little disheartening. Zagreus was the favorite of Zeus, so much so that the king of the gods placed the boy upon the throne of heaven and even gave him his own lightning bolts. But Hera, Zeus's wife and queen of the gods, and therefore the stepmother of Zagreus, grew jealous of this arrangement. So she persuaded the Titans to sneak into Mount Olympus. The Titans distracted the young god with toys, and the moment he set down Zeus's lightning bolts, they seized him and tore him apart with their knives. Zeus managed to recover Zagreus' heart and made a potion from it. That potion, it's said, was given to Semele, one of the mortal lovers of Zeus, though whether she knew what she was drinking is unclear. Later, she gave birth to Dionysus, the god of wine and festivity, a reincarnation of Zagreus himself. In fact, Zagreus is sometimes called the firstborn Dionysus. Melinoe's story, on the other hand, is far less dramatic. She was an underworld goddess who presided over the rites and offerings made to appease the spirits of the dead. At night, she would wander the earth, followed by a train of ghosts, striking fear into the hearts of mortals. She was often depicted as having half her body black and the other half white, a reflection of her dual nature, both chthonic and heavenly. In Hades too, Melinoe is indeed portrayed with a spectral hand, emphasizing that same duality, part living, part ghostly. She has the power to soothe and pacify the restless shades she encounters on her journey through the underworld, or even upon Mount Olympus. Her dual nature also grants her the rare ability to leave the underworld and walk upon the earth, something Zagreus could only do for brief moments in the first game. Melinoe is also considered an epithet of Hecate, the goddess of magic and witchcraft. And that's why, in the game, she's portrayed as Hecate's disciple, capable of performing powerful incantations herself. Now, let's talk a little more about Persephone, the mother of Zagreus and Melinoe. In the first Hades game, Zagreus spends most of his journey desperately searching for her, after she mysteriously leaves the underworld and vanishes. In the actual mythology, Persephone did disappear, though not quite in the same way. She vanishes from the underworld into the underworld, a bit both. It's complicated. So let's start from the beginning. Persephone was the daughter of Demeter and Zeus. Yes, that Zeus. Which makes things rather awkward, considering that he seduces Persephone to conceive Zagreus and Melinoe. And just to make the divine family tree even messier, Zeus, Hades, Hera, Demeter, Poseidon, and Hestia are all siblings, the son and daughters of Kronos and Rhea, the titans of time and fertility. Now, all these strange and tangled relationships between gods and goddesses shouldn't really be seen in the same way we interpret human relationships. In general, the unions and rivalries among gods and titans are symbolic, shorthand for cycles of renewal, continuity, and the recombination of cosmic forces. They represent the universe constantly seeking balance and harmony. There's no moral judgment implied, and certainly no endorsement of such behavior for ordinary mortals. The laws of humans simply don't apply to divinities, especially since gods don't age or die, but instead continually regenerate and transform. With that clarified, let's continue. At one point, Persephone was abducted by Hades, her uncle, who had fallen deeply in love with her. He carried her down into the underworld and made her his bride, and thus she became the queen of the underworld. Interestingly, this abduction wasn't entirely Hades' doing. Zeus himself organized it. When Demeter discovered that her daughter had vanished, she began to search for her across the earth, day and night. She was accompanied by Hecate, who held 2 torches to light their way. And interestingly, in Hades too, when you face Hecate at the end of the first area, her weapons are fittingly 2 torches. Demeter's search seemed hopeless, until in her desperation she turned for help to Helios, the sun, the ever-watchful eye that sees both gods and mortals alike. And Helios told her what he had witnessed. Persephone had been taken by Hades with the help and permission of Zeus. Enraged and heartbroken, Demeter decided to leave Mount Olympus behind, descend among mortals in disguise, and wander the earth in sorrow. But her decision would not come without consequences. You see, Demeter was the goddess of grain, bread, and agriculture, and when she withdrew her divine presence from the world, the earth itself began to wither. Crops stopped growing, the soil turned barren, and harvests became too meager to sustain humankind. Zeus grew deeply concerned, for without mortals there would be no one left to honor the gods. He begged Demeter to return to Olympus, but she refused, not until she could see her daughter again. At last Zeus relented. He sent Hermes, swift messenger of the gods, down into the underworld to bring Persephone back. Hades agreed to release her, but before letting her go, he offered Persephone a single pomegranate seed. Without thinking too much about it, she ate it, unaware of what that small act would mean. When mother and daughter were finally reunited, Demeter rushed to ask whether Persephone had eaten anything while in the underworld. And when Persephone admitted that she had tasted the pomegranate, her fate was sealed. By tasting food from the realm of the dead, Persephone had forever bound herself to it. As a side note, in the game, the Pom of Power is a short for the Pomegranate of Power that allows Zagreus or Melinoe to level up their various boons. Anyway, back to the story. From that day on, Persephone would spend 1/3 of each year with Hades in the underworld, and the remaining 2/3 with her mother and the other gods upon the earth. And so the seasons were born. Winter came when Persephone descended below, the world growing cold and lifeless in her absence. Spring and summer marked her joyous return among her dysfunctional family, when Demeter's heart and the fields blossomed once more. And what about autumn, you might ask? Well, the ancient Greeks only recognized 3 seasons, not 4 as we do now. And honestly, in recent years, at least here in Italy, it does feel like we go straight from a long, stubborn summer into winter, with only the briefest hint of fall in between. Maybe the ancient Greeks weren't so wrong after all. I hope you've enjoyed this very light-hearted ASMR educational video. Let me know if you want to see more, and feel free to suggest topics. If you want to support my channel, please consider liking, subscribing, sharing the video, or using the new hype feature. That would really help my channel. I'd like to thank all my supporters on Ko-fi and channel members too. And if you want to support me as well, you can find all the useful links and information in the description. And until next time, take care and stay relaxed. Bye bye.